So let's get to something else. And this is another moment that is not a sin. And sometimes you got to introduce new characters in a franchise that's been around at this point for about 40 years. And this is one of the greatest of all times. This is not a sin. Number 2, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. So listen, Kill, you know as well as I do, we're huge fans of Ken Foree.
Yes,
I think this was one of the greatest characters introduced in Halloween, in the Halloween franchise. I kid you not. I mean, look, we talked a lot in these last couple episodes about how they kind of, you know what they did to us, did us kind of dirty, especially with Buster. What did you think about Joe Grizzly and that scene and how it was all set up, man?
All right, boys. Grizzly's back in town. Who's got the Cracker Jack?
man, look, we all know when Michael breaks out, or normally on Halloween, and he leaves the hospital, he has to kill someone on the way to Haddonfield.
He has to.
And you know who's got it this time? Joe Grizzly. and look, you know, I mean, think of it, like every time he breaks out, for the most part, he's gonna kill someone on his way back home. You know, a little light snack, you know. And Joe Grizzly has a big personality. Is just, he's loud, he's awesome.
Who's got the Cracker Jacks?
Who's got the Cracker Jack? Who's got the Cracker Jack?
Man, look, he pulls in with his big rig. He's like, hey, you know, wash her up for me. I got to go use this bathroom. You know, he announces all of his stuff. He is proud. He's proud of the deuce that he's about to go drop. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and Michael sees all that bravado and he's just like, all right, I need your clothes, your boots, your motorcycle. You know, he's like,
right.
You know, and the thing about it is, Joe Grizzly still doesn't know the circumstances that he's now upon. He's still talking shit to Michael.
Yes.
And I love it. Sir, Joe Grizzly, you are my hero. You're my spirit animal.
Absolutely,
you weren't in the movie that long, but for the little bit of time you were there,
yes,
it mattered. It mattered to me.
One of the greatest Halloween characters of all time, seriously.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
All right. So, Coriander, now this is something that I noticed when watching this, even the first time. We're watching a remake of Halloween. Now, again, we know this is Rob Zombie's movie. He has to go his own way. But I've got a number for you. And you know what that number is? That number is 42. And you know what 42 is for? 45 minutes in. I'm sorry, it's 45 minutes in. And oh shit, what about Laurie? It was 45 minutes before we even get to Laurie Strode and, you know, the basic Haddonfield element, you know, of the movie and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about how this movie is kind of a tale of two stories, you know. Now we're getting into basically a somewhat of a remake of Halloween 78. Do you think 45 minutes in, it might have been a little bit less or whatever, but do you think that this was too long to get to the Laurie Strode section, too short, or was it just about right for you?
Well, I think everybody's forgetting. This is like the first Halloween movie where you don't see Michael riding dirty. He actually had to walk.
That's true.
I mean, he had some dirty feet when he was, you know, when he was not talking, but having his little interaction with Joe Grizzly. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, with this movie, it's appropriate. So
okay, all right. So the fact that he had to walk, you know, for a long time, it worked out for 45 minutes. All right, okay, I got you. All right. I don't know if I agree with it, but I see what you're saying. Because I mean, to me, it was kind of like, okay, when are we gonna get to the gravy? You know what I'm saying? and by this point, at 45 minutes, I just think that it got to a point where, again,
isn't it like a 2-hour movie, right?
It's a 2-hour movie.
There you go.
Yeah, and depending on which version you're watching too, man. But yeah,
right.
All right. But Kill, here's another thing that I want to throw out, because at this point he's back in Haddonfield. We've talked about this throughout the whole series. We've had a lot of ups and downs, bro. this is not a sin. Number 3, that goddamn mask. They finally got the mask right. Tell me what you thought about the mask, man.
I love that mask. That mask is menacing even when he was a little boy and put it on. And it's like oversized for his head. You know, it's still
it was the bobblehead,
awesome.
Michael, right?
Yeah. I mean, even and this is like how much the detail of it. Even on the neck, you see kind of like these muscle lines in it. I mean, other than, you know, the current mask and of course the original mask, this is my favorite mask. This is like a right there in third place, with the original being the best, the current mask, and this one is my third favorite mask.
Right.
And it just looks soulless. Like the way that, like, especially that image you just had, like the eyes, it just looks otherworldly. You know, it doesn't look like William Shatner or reverse William Shatner or anything like that. It just looks like, yeah, there's something here, you know. And yeah, man, it's awesome.
All right. There you go. Coriander, let's go to this one. The next one is this is an interesting one too that I wanted to get out of here. I'm going to put this up for you here, but Laurie obviously is running an errand for her father. They work for the realty company or whatever, Strode Realty. She has to go to the Myers house, and she meets up with Tommy. Tommy's there, Tommy Doyle. She goes up to the house, not knowing that Michael is there. He just got his mask back and so forth and so forth. And he sees her. Now, this scene is played a lot differently than the 78 version. And I know, you know, some people might have, you know, they might like one better than the other or whatever. But there's something that happened after she left the door that was kind of like, okay, I guess I get it, but I don't know. Because remember, when he killed Judith, she was still a little baby. And now we're talking 15 years later. You know what I'm saying? So she goes up to the door and puts the flyer in there or whatever, and then leaves. And then you see Michael do something. This sin is called, you're smelling your sibling. Because he smells the flyer or the letter or whatever she put in there. And basically what they're saying is that's how he knows that that's Boo. You get what I'm saying? Now, we talked about this when we watched this, Coriander. What did you think of that? You know, obviously that's their way to make this make sense, that he knows who Laurie Strode is. 15 years. He hasn't seen her in all those years because she got adopted after the Michael's mother killed herself. So what did you think of that scene, how they did that?
I mean, I've said it before. Michael's got like the sniffer of a bloodhound. I mean, he caught her scent when she was a baby. He instantly recognized that shit. Come on.
You're goddamn right.
Okay, all right. Kill, what did you think of it?
Kind of the same thing. I mean,
Come on.
Look, I didn't have an issue with it because whether they do the old school method in like the later movies in the franchise that came before this, the whole there's a bond, but you know there's a psychic link and all that. Yeah, okay. But this one, I mean, he knows the smell of his baby sister. And
are you making faces, Coriander?
I'm sniffing.
Let me say something. Let me stop here for a second. There's no lying here. When we were watching the movie, she's like, I'm not buying it.
That you know you said what that. Are you talking about?
No, you said it.
You were like,
you're like,
what's going on?
And you were like, hey. Yeah, I don't buy it.
Well, like I said, he's always had that bloodhound sniffer. So
I will say this though. In a way, it does work because they are portraying him as more animalistic. So you know, it's not a huge jump, but it was kind of like, okay, you know, they had to make him know who Laurie Strode was at this point. So I get it. Okay, all right. So. She's like, he's a sniffer. It's like, come on, you're not. Come on, man. All right, so let's go to the next one. Kill. All right, so obviously in this movie we got a new crew of friends. What did you think of this new batch of friends? Obviously we're talking about Laurie's friends, Linda and Annie. Annie obviously played by the icon, at least to me and to us, iconic Danielle Harris. What do you think about their portrayals as Linda and Annie?
I mean, they were just fine. But also because we spent so much time at the beginning of the movie before we even get to Laurie, the friends, they're not. You don't know too much about them, nor do you really need to.
True. True.
So they were just fine, and you're looking at them. Okay, are you just extra bodies to be killed? Now, of course, Danielle Harris, they gave her a little bit more shine, with her father character in here and so forth. But yeah, it's just one of these things where, like you said, about 45 minutes before we even see Laurie Strode, but we get so much more young Michael, and dive into the psyche. So in a way, it's like Rob looked at the original and was like, yeah, it's not a lot of young Michael. It's a lot of like Laurie,
right?
And let's switch it up a little bit. A little bit, And yes, Laurie is a very important part of this, but I want to focus more on why Mike does what he does.
I mean, I will say, and I absolutely love this image showing the two versions of the trio. I will say, obviously, Danielle Harris did a great job, and they gave her a lot to work with as Annie. But come on, man, PJ Souls. I mean, come on, you totally can't beat her. I don't think they gave Linda enough character in this version, because and it was what it was, maybe because they just wanted that focus to go to Annie, but that's my little 2 cents on it. Coriander, what do you think about it as far as the portrayal of Annie and Linda in this?
You kind of said it. I looked at them like people that he's just gonna kill. Even Laurie, I don't know.
Preach.
I mean, it is what it is. Preach.
No, I'm just saying it's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying Scout wasn't good, but I just don't like how she was directed to play Laurie, so I don't know. It is what it is. So
now can I ask, because actually that's very interesting. Now, how so? What do you mean as far as how she was directed to play Laurie? Do you think that she just didn't have enough I don't know.
Innocence, I guess. Innocence,
Okay.
because
Okay.
in 78, Laurie was innocent, and in this one, you have her poking her fingers through a bagel. You know what I mean? Being obscene, and so, yeah.
And yet, they have some moments where, Annie's trying to, get partying and whatever, and then Laurie's like, well, I can't do that, this. So it's kind of, like, oh, wait a minute, where are you at with this innocence, which, and I'm not saying people can't have both, because obviously that's more realistic, that people can have both aspects. But I do think what was interesting about the way that Carpenter and Deborah Hill portrayed Laurie Strode in 78 was, she was the good girl. She was the bookworm. She was the awkward person. And to me, by the end of the movie, especially in the closet scene where she fights back and stabs Michael in the eye, and then, in the torso or whatever, it was kind of like, okay, it's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's just nostalgia, but I do think it's a better arc for the character. And of course, we had time to spend with Jamie Lee Curtis, whereas with Scout, we only get about an hour, or so, which, again, that's probably more script rather than anything else. I think Scout did a great job, but I agree with you, Coriander, is basically what I'm saying. I know I'm rabbit trailing, but when you said that, you said what I wanted to say, but I probably wasn't going to, because I didn't want to keep going on, but I'm glad you said it. So I think it's a great point, because like Kill said, Rob flip-flopped this movie, basically airing towards Michael rather than Laurie, which I'm not saying is a bad thing.
He sexualized it, because all her friends wanted to do was have sex. I mean, when, Annie and Laurie, when she dropped the kids off, they had their moment of pretending that, ooh,
Right.
So, Yeah,
Yeah.
he just sexualized it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is literally probably the best point made in this episode so far. That's great, man. Seriously. Wow. All right. Great thing. All right. So Kill, let's go to the next thing. And this was kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, but let's talk about the Bob and the Linda kill, which obviously in the original movie was iconic. What did you think about the way that they did the Bob and Linda kill in this movie?
Once again, you could say a lot about the Rob Zombie version, but when it comes to like the gore or just the violence, it's to me it's top notch. And essentially, oh well, there you go. Essentially, this version of Michael, and once again, all of my praises are for the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie. With Tyler, you feel the menace, you feel that visceral just aggression, that violence. And it's also just very cold. And I think that's due to his body language and physicality and that mask. You combine those three with how he kills, and it's just, man, there's definitely something here. Is it good for a Halloween remake? I think yeah, because it's a modernized version. It's a Rob Zombie interpretation of it, and I had no issue with it. I mean, this is the shape for a new generation.
Right. Now, Coriander, let me throw it to you too, and obviously, ultimately, there'll be times when people will compare them. And, obviously that's not what this episode is fully about, but I gotta, because I have some thoughts on it myself. But what did you think about the Bob and Linda kill in this one versus 78?
It was interesting, because it was pretty much done almost, he didn't really bring too much of a difference. He dressed up in the sheet, he did all that. And the kill itself, I mean, if anything, like Killian said, this Michael brings anger. You can see he hates almost everything, and he's mad at the world.
He's humanized.
And
yes, he's human.
And I mean, yeah. It fits the movie. It fits the movie. Would it fit 78? Hell no. But it fits this one.
But I will say this, and this is one thing to me, like, especially when I think of 78, one of those iconic moments is, of course, when he comes back up the stairs after killing Bob, and PJ Souls has no freaking clue he's under the sheet. But in this movie, he just kind of walks in, and she turns around, there it is. In 78, that door creaks open nice and slow, and then you see him in the white sheet, and he's just standing there, and she has no clue. And that scene played out, a lot longer, and she's like, okay, you're not gonna give me my beer, all right, well, I'm gonna call Laurie or whatever. And she gets on the phone, and she's calling Laurie. You see Jamie Lee pick up the phone, and then all of a sudden, dun 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 dun, and he's just walking behind PJ, and he starts choking her. Man, there were like 3 moments in what I just said that I was like, edged up. Whereas in the Rob Zombie version, right or wrong, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying it is what it is. In the Rob Zombie version, he's there, he chokes her, it's done, So I feel as though, yes, it's modernized, but I guess what I'm saying is I kind of missed that old school, the build up, and a choice of music too, because Rob he used John's music here and there a few times, but it was more like rock, and like it was more like intense and bam, bam, bam. And we're going to talk about the shaky cam because that definitely was a big thing too. And to me, it didn't add to the creep factor. Yes, he was violent. Yes, he was angry. Yes, it was visceral, but once it was done, and I've seen the movie a lot of times, Kill, we saw it in the theater together, but to me, it isn't as memorable or as iconic.
Because it's quick.
Well,
You
right,
know,
exactly. Is it? Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
all these kills. Jason is, like we said at one point, not Jason, Michael, I'm sorry. At one point, we see him running. So
Well, yeah, we.
it's like, he didn't use the buildup like 78 did.
Right,
He
right.
just went in for the kill, man. Just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna use like what Buster says. He's like a killer white shark. So yeah.
In baggy ass overalls.
Right.
Michael Myers is a killer shark. Baggy ass overalls.
Right.
Kill. What did you do? You agree with what I was saying there too, or do you have a preference of either? And again, I'm not necessarily saying okay, well, this makes Rob Zombie's movie bad, but I'm just saying it's a different way to do a similar scene.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and it's not that I prefer one or the other. The tone of the original one was more suspenseful, more anticipation of the kill. This one, this Michael doesn't play with his food. this Michael
except when he brings bodies to different places. They did show that, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's an aggression here, and I keep doing this comparison to the Friday the 13th remake, of where that Jason was aggressive. I mean, that opening, part of the movie where he kills those campers, and the last one is there, and he's running, and he's just like, and then it cuts to black, and it's like, oh wow,
yeah.
So I think it could just be something indicative of the early 2000s and these remakes where these directors are just like, we can't do it, we're not going to beat the original. You're just not.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, Rob was really damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, I give him credit for doing a lot of interesting things, though. Coriander, here's another one I want to throw up here. We're big fans of icons in horror, and all these great actors and actresses, and show them respect. Dance with who brought you. Well, you know who they didn't show respect to, and I know you're a big fan. This sin is called "Don't Do D Like That." The iconic Dee Wallace, and I'm poking fun a little bit, but I do want to talk about it. It was nice to see her in this movie, but what do you think about how they killed her off?
I mean, yeah, it was a bummer to see her go, but how many movies have we actually seen her, get killed in?
That's true.
I can't really think of any. So if I would have been the same way, if I'm going to be in a Halloween movie, you got to kill me. If anything, she should have been like torn up instead of just her neck getting snapped back, and that was it. If anything,
man, come on, man. This is Dee Wallace. Come on, you don't do that to Dee Wallace. This is the mom of
I
E.T.
don't care.
No, I'm just playing.
I'm just saying. I'd want a good death scene because, like I said, how many death scenes has she had?
That's true. That's true. All right. So, Kill, we've been waiting for this point in the movie for about 57 minutes at this point. So we get to the point where we finally get down to the nitty gritty, Kill. And this sin is called Laurie versus Michael. And we start to come upon the scene where she's facing off with Michael. There's a lot of shaky cam in this motherfucker. All right.
Yeah,
and,
there is.
And Laurie is making choices. And some of these choices are not good choices versus her 78 counterpart. What do you think of the scene, how it was shaping up? No pun intended.
I don't want to judge what someone does under pressure or the choices that they make. But I do feel the way that they characterize Laurie in this one, she's just not, I don't want to say as smart as the original's Laurie, but there's just something there that she just is not handling this pressure as well as Jamie Lee did in the original. But when the rubber hits the road, you gotta make smart decisions.
Please.
And yeah, like some of these decisions, and it could just be the way Rob wanted to kind of have the juxtaposition of this Laurie and then that Laurie. Yeah. They are very different. And I feel he might even went to Scout and said, hey, look, your version of Laurie for this first movie of mine, it's not going to be the best. Okay, I'm letting you know right now. But I got you on the back end. I got you in the next one. You're going to be tougher and, you know, almost broken. But yeah, to answer your question, she does not make the best decisions, and
Exactly.
the shaky cam. That's another, you know,
And
zombieism.
And let me put it up, because stop shaking that goddamn camera. I want to see what's going on.
It's a bit
Right?
much. It's a bit much.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, it got to a point where I thought I was watching, like, you know, like the first Jason Bourne movie or something. What are we doing? You know, it's like, come on, this ain't a fight scene. But anyways, and again, it was a choice that they made. And I was saying this to Coriander, and again, I know I'm kind of comparing, but that's what you do, because this is a remake, and there's elements that they took from 78. But Dean Cundy, the way he shot 78, you know, the long wide shots, you could see, you know, everything was just so beautiful, the angles. And there were some good angles in this movie too, but I think with some of that shaky cam, especially when he's going after Laurie and she's trying to escape, I just thought it was kind of like, what's going on here? But anyways, Coriander, this was what happened once we get to the nitty gritty between Laurie and Michael. And you've got Michael humanized. He's showing her a picture of them as kids, and he wants to play Ring Around the Rosie and shake hands and eat apple pie. What did you think? What did you think about that scene? You know, of course, she doesn't know what's going on. She's like, I don't know what you want. Who are you?
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been done, but it's been done before. We've seen Michael cry. I mean, at least he's not fucking crying in this movie. You know, he's just trying to say, hey, look,
Good point.
I'm your brother, you know?
Good point.
I mean, if anything, they did this one a little bit better. You know, it's still,
That's a good
why
point.
are you doing this? It's like,
Yeah,
why?
right?
But okay,
Yeah,
at least it makes a little more sense.
Yeah, good point though. You brought out Halloween 5. Good for you. All right, Kill. What do you think about that? Do you think it was good to basically look? Because we've talked about this 1,000 times. When you try to give a lot of backstory and explanation of things, you usually run into trouble one way or the other. Do you think that it was a good idea to give an explanation to Michael's evil? You know, was it a good or a bad thing, or in between?
I personally think it's a good thing, because I look at it two ways. Yes, the fact that, hey, he's just evil for evil's sake, that's fine. But then you had movies in this timeline that go to the whole cult of Thorn and all this other stuff. He's the embodiment of evil demon and entity, you know. So in a way, they already tried to explain that, you know, kill for him and all that. Whereas this one, you know, Rob took a more, you know, psychological approach to it. They showed him as a young boy. They showed the family that he grew up under, and it kind of explains a lot of his psychosis. A lot, you know, and one of the things it kind of reminds me of is the Friday the 13th remake, where they showed, well, how is Jason so fast and able to get around? Well, he has underground tunnels, whether you like it or not, you know. But once again, if you're doing a reboot, a remake, you have to stay true to what we love, but also throw in some new stuff, so it's not just you repeating what's already been done.
Well,
so I personally like it.
See, well, that's kind of where I have the issue with it, is because, now again, I enjoy the movie on a lot of levels. As a slasher, I think it's a really great movie. You know, there are a lot of great things about it. But again, to me, and we're talking about 78. And Curse of Michael Myers is, fuck that. I'm talking about 78. As far as explaining his childhood and so forth, to me, as the mythology for Michael is concerned, to me, I think it's scarier when I don't know. I think it's scarier when I think that he actually came from a fairly decent upbringing. I mean, we don't know.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know what his life was like in 78, but, you know, it looked like it was a nice home. The parents looked, you know, they were dressed nice. So you assume it was at least decent. In this movie, there's no way he couldn't become Michael Myers. Like, I thought he was going to become Satan himself in that type of upbringing, but Rob kind of had to do that, kind of like what you were saying, Killian, because he couldn't just remake Halloween all over again. You're not going to do it better than John Carpenter and Dean Cundey and all those guys.
Exactly.
But that's where the problem is that, for me anyways, is that you took away the mystery, and you take away a lot of the mystery, and you humanized Michael, which is okay, but I thought it was much scarier when you just didn't know. It's like, why is he doing that? I have no idea. Why did he kill Judith? He just did. Now listen, Kill, we've seen a lot of things that Michael can do in movies. It's amazing. He's great. You know, he needs to get paid. In this movie, he does something we had never seen done before. And we've had a lot of people portray Michael Myers, obviously the great Nick Castle. We saw Warlock and what he can do when he's walking down the stairs, and it takes 85 years in Halloween 2 from 81. But in this movie, Michael runs. What is going on, Kill? And he decides to run, and Laurie Strode, his sister, off of a balcony to the pits of hell, meaning the ground.
Through a window.
Why?
Yeah.
Why, Kill? Why is Michael Audrey Myers running?
Look,
Michael doesn't run. He's the fastest slow walker of all times.
It's a new day, man. It's the early to mid 2000s, and this Michael, look, he needs to get places. He's not riding dirty.
Man.
He's walking and running.
Walking
dirty.
and running, right?
I was like, when I first saw that, I remember in the theater, I was thinking, whoa, because he
caught you off guard, though, didn't it?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It caught me off guard. And then I was thinking, what the fuck was that? I'm just joking.
They
All
took
right.
Friday 4 to the next extreme. That's what they did.
They did.
Yeah.
Laurie Strode should have made a choice like Trish from Friday 4.
Exactly. I'm gonna
Trish
fucking jump off before you tackle me, right?
Trish had rules. Okay. All right. So listen, Coriander, as we get to the last two here, here's the one I want to throw to you. And this was really interesting because we know what a character did in 78. And there's something that this character did not do in 2007. This one is called Loomis Didn't Shoot 6 Times.
Yeah.
So listen. Look, I get it. He has a relationship that was well established in this movie. But look, man, you go to a gun store to get loaded up with a weapon, and you see Michael about to kill Laurie Strode, and you're there to protect her. Yeah. Look, you got to shoot 6 times, man. You can't be shooting him 2 or 3 times, I think is what he did. What'd you think about that scene, Coriander?
You know, the ending of this movie was just like 15 minutes too long, and this scene here is like, come on, man, really? I mean, I get it, Loomis isn't like a sniper, so in Laurie it's dark and she's, you know, I don't know, I get he only shot 3 times because he probably didn't want to hit Laurie, you know, so I don't know.
You shoot that motherfucker till you're out of bullets. He was like, Michael, stop. Stop!
I know. I don't know what to say, you know.
Stop! Michael!
Oh, it is what it is.
It's crazy stuff, man.
Right?
Well, yeah, it's like, dude, you gotta unload, son. Finish it off. Donald would have done that.
You're goddamn right.
All right, so listen, I'm just playing. But you mentioned it, Coriander, and Kill. This is the last thing, because I also agreed, because when we watched this is what I was thinking. You know, this film has a lot of nice moments, some new stuff they injected, some good kills and stuff. But there's something about this ending, Kill, and you know what it is? It's a long-ass finale.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
And it's like, come on, man. You got Michael running, people not shooting 6 times, the Fist of the North Star. What the hell is going on here, Kill?
It is way too long. And you know, it's like drawn out for no apparent reason, no payoff.
Show, like you guys said, to show that Laurie, you know, doesn't know what she's doing. So yeah.
I just, you know, and it's drawn out here, and it's definitely drawn out in the next one. But yeah, I this once again, I don't really know if I should call this a zombieism or whatever, but this was not the best choice.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, yeah.
I totally agree, because I think that they could have shaved, and I know there might be some people thinking, because I was very vocal about Halloween Ends, how I thought that finale should have been longer, and I stand by that. But what I mean is, with this one, the way it was crafted, it just was drawn out. You get what I'm saying? Whereas and I know people are gonna say you keep doing this, but in 78, when he's stalking her and chasing her, there are like these levels, right? You know, he stabs her, she falls down the steps, top of the steps, he's coming after her. She goes into that room, she has to break the glass, she runs across the street, okay, boom, 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 boom. She's in the closet, she stabs him, you know, and he's down. She thinks it's all good. He sits up, he comes after, you know, so it's like these levels to it. You know what I'm saying? So I could ride with that. With this one, because it's so bam, 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 after a while, I'm desensitized and I'm just like, okay, all right, we get it. He's Michael Myers. Let's do what we got to do and get done with this. You know what I mean? I'm finished my popcorn.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
finish this. You know?
Right?
So I think that's why I had an issue with it. I don't know if that makes sense for you guys, but I think it was just the way it was crafted. It was just kind of drawn out because of
like
the
they didn't know
styling.
how to end it, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And of course, man, and this wasn't even a sin I had on it, but maybe it's an extra sin. You know, when she has the gun and she shoots, it was kind of like, all right, and then she's screaming, which of course she should. She's in trauma and all that, but it was kind of like, I guess I just didn't really feel it, you know? I mean,
I was
when
like,
they showed,
yes, finally.
I mean, when
Jeez.
they showed the pictures of him and her as kids, I was kind of like, yeah, that does kind of suck. But the actual event, you know, her shooting him, I just wasn't as invested, you know, and I think it's just because of the way that it was drawn out and crafted, and I lost interest. I don't know, but anyways, that's all we got for the sins of Halloween from 2007. You know, it's a good movie in a lot of ways. It's definitely a great slasher movie. You know, some missed opportunities as a Halloween movie, but all in all, it's some fresh takes and some interesting things. So this is definitely just a few of the things we wanted to talk about. But for you guys watching, let us know what you think about this movie. Let us know what are some of your sins or talking points that you want to have. Let us know in the comment section down below. Please give the video a like. It would help support the channel. We'd appreciate it. And if you are not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, what are you doing? You got to do it. We'd love to have you guys join us on this journey. And also want to give a shout out to our supporters on Patreon and also our channel members. We appreciate you guys so much for supporting us and being there with us and helping to strengthen this community that we have. So anyways, we will catch you guys next time. The next episode, I think, is going to be really interesting because we're going to be talking about H2. So anyways, hope you guys can join us for that. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out.
Peace.